Hello everyone, I hope you're doing great. This is my coal forge. It's working great and I love it. The problem is it's a little bit too small for the project I have in mind. So today we're gonna make a big gas forge. Let's get started. First thing I need to do is to make the table for the forge. I want to be able to move the forge so it will be mounted on heavy-duty casters. I'm using my bandsaw to cut all the parts to length instead of an angle grinder, just to be sure to get perfect 90 degrees angle on all of them. I'm using 30mm tube steel I bought at my local hardware store because it's strong enough for this project and also because that's all they had. I cut them to size, and when all the parts are ready, I can tack them in place with my MIG welder, making sure everything is nice and square. Now I can weld everything and grind the welds so the frame is nice and flat. I can now drill holes into the angle iron part and weld them to the frame of the table. It will allow me to attach the tabletop to the frame later. A little bit of grinding and I can start working on the feet. I found it a lot easier to make two sides at the same time. So I clamped all the parts together and I can now tack them in place. When the frame is ready, I can weld all the parts together and grind the welds nice and clean. Now I'm cutting 10mm steel plates into 4 pieces I'm gonna weld to the feet, so I can weld the caster underneath. The forge is gonna be pretty heavy, so I needed very strong wheels. I'm also adding what will become a stock rest by welding smaller tubes together. The stock rest will be at the height of the forge and I will be able to remove it when I don't need it. I'll put the gas bottle under the table, so I'm adding 2 steel bars to support it. After a little bit more of grinding, I can now paint everything with light grey car paint. After waiting a few hours for the paint to dry, the frame is done and I can start working on the tabletop. For the tabletop, I'm using 25mm thick reclaimed wood I salvaged from an old cabinet. The forge is going to be pretty long and pretty wide, so I'm cutting and assembling 2 pieces to get the desired size for the tabletop. I'm using my biscuit joiner and waterproof wood glue to assemble the 2 pieces. When the glue is dry, I can sand the varnish and prep the top from some black paint on both sides and underneath. I can now screw the tabletop to the frame using wood screws and start working on the forge itself. I'm using 50mm aerated concrete block for the base of the forge. It's the perfect insulating material for the job, it's cheap and easy to work with. I'm gluing the blocks to the tabletop and I can start working on the walls using refractory bricks. I want a 80cm long forge, so I'm assembling 4 bricks with refractory cement. Once the first row is fully dry, I can build up the wall, adding a second row using the same material, making sure the joints are good and strong. My clamping method is pretty unusual, but it's working pretty well. For the top of the forge, I'm assembling 2 big blocks and cutting them to size. Then I can sand the walls to make them perfectly square and flat. I can now assemble the walls to the base using refractory cement and add the top. I'm just making sure everything is square by grinding the excess on both sides. Before I started building the forge, I ordered a burner kit on eBay for a good price. It's a triple burner kit and comes with a pressure gauge, all the necessary fittings and a hose. The kit is pretty well made, and having the option to open or close the second and third burner is exactly what I wanted for my forge. I'll be able to hit short pieces and hopefully one day long swords too. Now the inside of the forge is done, I can start working on the casing. I'm using 3mm steel sheets I bought at my local scrapyard. First, I'm cutting the sides and the top of the casing to size with my angle grinder, using a wooden straight edge to get perfect cuts. I can then clamp the two sides together and grind the excess to get two identical parts. Then comes all the de-rusting fun with the wire wheel. Once it's done, I can bevel the edges of all the parts to be able to weld them together later on. I need to drill 3 holes in the casing tops for the burners, and I have to be very precise with measurements so the holes align perfectly and have the right spacing. When everything is ready, I can drill the holes very slowly. Looks like a perfect fit. Now let's work on the front and back of the forge. I'm also using 3mm steel for these parts. Once they are cut, I can repeat the process of de-rusting and beveling, making sure I have straight edges to make them easier to weld. Now I can cut and grind to size 2 doors and de-rust them before I start assembling the casing. Everything fits perfectly when held tight with some clamps. So let's weld everything together. For now, I'm just gonna tack all the parts together. Once everything is secured, I can drill holes for the burners into the aerated concrete. Having some pieces of wood under the top will prevent the concrete from breaking under the pressure of the drill bit. It's a slow process, but it's working very well. I'm adding 3 pieces of steel tubing to make the burner rest at the right height. I don't want the gas hose to be touching the hot casing when I'm working, so I'm making an arm for the hose to go through and stay as far from the casing as possible. The hose will go through a piece of concrete just to be extra safe. Welding a few screws will help me to secure the burners in place, and now I can finally weld everything for good. The forge is gonna stay outside most of the time, so I wanted to be able to close it with proper doors, just to be sure that no animal is gonna come nest or sleep inside it when I'm not using it. When everything is done, I can start grinding all the welds to have a nice and clean casing. A quick cleaning with the wire wheel and I can apply 3 coats of paint using high temperature black paint. The insulation of the forge is done, but I still need to add some to the doors. That's the part of the forge I'm most likely to touch when working. So I decided to attach 50mm aerated concrete piece to each door with concrete screws, and it's working great. The forge is almost ready. I just need to address one issue. I'll be working a lot with the door open. So to keep the heat inside the forge, I'm making this simple piece of concrete. The inside of the forge is 85 by 25 by 22 centimeters. So I'm cutting pieces of insulating material to put inside the forge when I will be using only 1 or 2 burners. Now I can install the burners and put the stock rest in place. Everything seems to be fine, so let's plug the gas bottle. I'm securing it to the table with zip ties, so the bottle won't fall off when I move the forge. And we are ready for ignition. I'm super happy with how the forge turned out, and I'm sure you'll be seeing it a lot in my future videos. As always, be good, be safe, keep making, and see you in the next one.